2011 was a tumultuous year, starting right from the very beginning and taking us all the way through to the end of the year. January the 2nd, there was the second large earthquake in Chile, and on January the 8th, Gabriel Giffords was shot, but 6 others lost their lives in Arizona in a random shooting. January the 14th, in Tunisia.
The traffic flow outside City Hall in Sidi Bouzid is back to normal. Just a month ago, dozens of protesters had brought the busy intersection to a standstill. The local residents were angered by the death of one of their own, a young produce vendor who set himself on fire in despair. Sidi Bouzid is Tunisia's rich agricultural heartland, but it is severely underdeveloped. Locals here complain of living under an unjust and tyrannical regime where the state failed to meet the basic needs of its citizens. Everywhere our cameras went on the streets of Sidi Bouzid, dozens of residents would tell us about the misery of life in this closed-off city, where abuse and exploitation at the hands of the state were common. Those that led the initial protests, which many now are calling the Sidi Bouzid Revolution, say the journey for change is not yet over.
With nothing more than strong determination and a handful of cell phones they used to broadcast the protests to the outside world, it was outside these government gates that a handful of protesters not only changed the course of a country, but perhaps of an entire region.
From one man's fatal protest, what spawned for the rest of 2011? This was just one step in which the whole year was going to erupt all around the world. As expected, the Iranian atomic energy negotiations collapsed on the 22nd of January. Yes, on the 25th, huge, Egypt rises up against the Mubarak regime after 30 years. You will now hear the crowd singing in Tahrir Square the evening before Mubarak leaves. On January 27th, the Yemenis then began an uprising against their leader, and on the same day, the colour-coded emergency alerts went away. February the 7th, southern Sudan became its own country, and then on February the 15th, revolts that started in Tunisia spread to the United States, and we saw scenes in Wisconsin we'd never seen before. Here's some sounds from within the capital. On the 16th of February, yet more happened, going back to the Middle East. Uprisings and revolts in Bahrain, and perhaps the most portentous in Libya start. You will be listening to a street battle in the town of Misrata in Libya between the militia and General Gaddafi's forces, where the photographer was actually killed at the end of this soundtrack. On the 23rd of February, there was a massive earthquake in New Zealand centred near Christchurch. On March 9th, the Discovery space shuttle flew its last trip. And then March 11th, another earthquake, this time centered in Japan. And on top of the earthquake, huge tsunami. The sounds you will hear are of the tsunami wave washing away an entire village. Tens of thousands of people perished in the earthquake and the tsunami. But then, just a few days later, man-made destruction when the Fukushima nuclear reactors start exploding. The sounds you will hear are of reactor number 3 exploding and turning the national disaster into an international disaster with releases of radioactivity across the world. April was a mixed bag with, on Fool's Day, there was the first of the year's 11th hour budget agreement. On the 26th of April, President Obama released his birth certificate, the long-form version. On the 27th, a flurry of tornadoes hit the South and Midwest. On a lighter note, on the 29th, Prince William and Kate got married in London. On May the 2nd, Osama bin Laden was killed in a safe house in Pakistan. On May 22nd, a massive tornado smashed its way through Joplin, Missouri. The sounds you're going to hear is of a family in a house holding on for dear life during the tornado.
Heavenly Father, Jesus.
We're good. We're good.
It's okay.
I think we're gonna do it. I know. I love everyone, man. Yeah, I love all you guys. We're gonna be okay. I love you.
Jesus. Heavenly Father. Thank you.
Guys all okay? Yes. Go, stay down. Is everyone okay below me? Right here, I'm okay. All right, I'm trying not to lay on someone.
Somebody's on my back.
On May 24th, the end of the world didn't happen. But on the 25th, Oprah Winfrey finished her show. June 24th, New York became the largest state to okay same-sex marriage. July 7th, Rupert Murdoch closes the News of the World, the British tabloid, in the wake of the phone tapping scandal. And on July 21st, the Atlantis space shuttle lands, the very last flight of the shuttles. 23rd, sadly, Amy Winehouse passed away. August the 1st saw the second government budget disaster being averted at the last minute when the federal debt limit was allowed to be raised. August 5th saw Standard & Poor's downgrade the United States credit rating. In London, there was violence in the streets with many people being hurt, protesting budget cuts and also the Olympics in London in 2012. On August 23rd, there was a 5.8 earthquake in Virginia, which even damaged the Washington Monument. On the 27th, Hurricane Irene hit the east coast with severe flooding over hundreds and hundreds of miles. Then, September 11th, the 10th anniversary of 9/11 at Ground Zero in New York.
Howard Selwyn,
Larry John Senko,
Arturo Angelo Serino,
Frankie Serrano,
Marina H. Serva,
Gregory James Trost,
Willie Q. Troy,
Kaishiro Takahashi,
Keiji Takahashi,
William R. Steiner,
Eric Thomas Steen,
Edna L. Stevens.
On September 17th, in the heart of New York in Wall Street, a small protest begins which spreads around the world. Occupy. The following is the Occupy Wall Street demonstrators being evicted from Zuccotti Park.
They're taking it and they're trying to block up every street right now. They're lining up to surround us.
September 20th saw the end of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell edict in the military. And on the same day, Iran releases 2 American hostages. On the 26th, another government shutdown was averted. Sadly, October 5th saw Steve Jobs passing away. On October 7th, 3 women, one from Liberia, one from Yemen, and one from Kenya, were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Then October 25th, the Occupy movement got ugly with a police riot in downtown Oakland. This sound clip is of veteran Scott Olson being shot in the head with a projectile during that riot.
Now, chemical agents will be used.
What happened? You got hit. You got shot. What's your name? What's your name? Wake up. What's your name? What's your name? Shit. Medic!
On the 28th of October, huge floods hit Thailand and its capital, Bangkok. On the 31st of October, Palestine won endorsement from UNESCO. And on the same day, the world population went over 7 billion people. November 7th saw the passing of Joe Frazier, and November 21st, the Budget Super Committee failed. December 10th saw marches begin in Russia for the first time, and December 11th, the failed Climate Control Conference in Copenhagen. December 13th, something new, the God particle, the Higgs boson, was observed for the first time. On December 18th, the United States military leaves Iraq. The last convoys go across the border into Kuwait. This soundtrack shows some of the different military forces leaving Iraq. December 17th saw protests in Alabama over the new immigration laws. On the 23rd, the government avoids the payroll tax break ending at the last moment. On the 28th of December, Cheetah, star of those Tarzan films, dies at 80 years old.